This is a lecture from OpenTuition. To benefit from the lecture, you should download the free lecture notes from opentuition.com.
Okay, so let's go through and have a look at the approach as promised. Because if you can master the approach, the questions should be pretty straightforward. Okay, but if you don't master the approach, you're giving yourself all sorts of difficulty. You know, everybody's able to master the approach of taking the TB and preparing the statement of profit or loss and the statement of financial position. But people struggle on mastering an approach for your statement of cash flows. This one, I can't say it's foolproof, but it's pretty close. Okay, so what have we got? Let's work our way through it and refer back to the notes as we go along. So, first of all, people don't do it, but you read the requirements. Okay, note the year-end date and allocate your timings. Okay, so look at the number of marks and the number of marks or minutes per mark. Okay, don't overrun your timings in any question. Once you've got the year-end date, you'll know what the carry-forward figures are, and therefore the prior year is therefore the opening balances. Don't get them the wrong way round. Okay, don't say that an increase is a decrease or a decrease is an increase. Okay, because you've got the year ends mixed up. Okay, note this year, note last year. And then what I would do is I'd go through there and put in, first of all, the headings. Don't go through there and write out a pro forma with all the headings and all the subheadings. No, don't do that, because we don't know what balances will or won't appear. Okay, so what I'd do is I'd start off with my operating activities, and then what I would do there is I would leave one page. I'd have 1 page of paper, and my operating activities would start at the top. Okay, everything else would then remain blank. Then for the investing and financing, I would turn over my page of paper. And at the top of that second page, I would write the heading investing activities, leave half a page and then write financing activities. Okay, so you've got the operating activities at the top of 1 page and a big blank page. You then turn it round, you've got investing at the top, financing halfway down, then right at the very bottom, you put your cash and cash equivalents. Okay, and then you've got your workings, and that can start on a separate page. Okay, where do I go through and start? To get the easy marks, start off with the cash and cash equivalents figures. So go through there, use our calculations, identify, is it the opening balances, identify the closing balances, work out the movement, and then these 3 figures here will all feed into the bottom there. Okay, and away you go. That's nice and easy. Fills you with just a little bit of confidence to get things started with. Tick them off as you go along. Tick off the cash, tick off the cash equivalents, tick off the overdraft on the question. Okay, you'll struggle to do that if it's a computer-based exam, but there we go. Then where do we head? We head to the statement of profit or loss. And when we're in the statement of profit or loss, we start at PBT. So if I go back a few chapters, I start at PBT. Okay, that's my starting point. And that number goes straight in there, right at the very top. Okay, so again, some easy marks to get in there. What I then go through and do is I go through and look up. So if I go to PBT and I look up, the balances that I see are investment income and finance costs. You adjust for those in the statement of cash flows. So your finance cost, you add back in, and your investment income, you deduct. Okay. You just do the opposite of what is within the statement of profit or loss. The finance costs have been deducted and get into PBT. So to get back from PBT to your operating profit, we add it back in. Okay, jackpot. Just notes, once you've got your finance costs, maybe you can think about working out your interest paid. So that could form part of your T account. And then the investment income could be your dividends received. Okay, so they're then the figures that appear on the statements of cash flows. Once you look up, you then go through there and look down. So we've looked up, we now look down. And what you see when you look down is the income tax expense. So here you need to work out has there been any tax paid? Okay, like your finance costs, you'd have worked out to see whether or not there was any interest paid. With your investment income, was there any dividends that was received? Okay, but by taking that figure, you can then use it within the T account for interest expense and income tax expense. Then you've looked down. Just be careful. This is a bit complicated because the discontinued scenario, but then the profit for the loss for the period, you can then look down further to see whether or not there's any dividends paid. Okay, so you need to use the tax expense, use the profit for the year in conjunction with the statement of financial position. So for the income tax expense, this is the figure that we've just got. You need, careful, wrong one. That's the figure that we've got on my tax. You'd need to look at the opening and closing tax payable and deferred tax balances. Similarly, before you've got the finance cost expense that you've adjusted for in operating activities, but what about then using the opening and closing interest payable balance to work out the cash figure? Okay. It sounds a lot, but if you stick with it, it works well. Then what we've got is we go into the statement of financial position. And then we go through and look at the working capital. So that's going through there and looking at the inventory, receivables and payables to see whether there's been an increase or decrease and adjusting accordingly. You've then got your borrowings. So I always think that your borrowings should be pretty straightforward. If there's an increase in borrowings, you've got a cash inflow. So remember there, issued debt, increase in borrowings is a cash inflow. If you've repaid your debt, there's a cash outflow, isn't there? Because there is a decrease in the borrowings. Okay. Then you've got your share capital and share premium. Remember, the movement in share capital, the movement in share premium is the cash inflow figure. Once you've done that, then plow into the additional information. And effectively, that's looking for non-cash items or inflows or outflows. Okay. Inflows and outflows are usually to do with the purchase or sale of PPE or investments or intangibles. And then the non-cash items at this level are depreciation, amortization, impairments, or profit or losses on disposal. Okay. We'll see those in the next question. Once you've done that, if there's a bit of additional information that's just too hard, leave it, move on. Don't waste any time on it. Yeah, just go through there, complete the workings, transfer the figures into the statements of cash flows, and just make sure that you get the signage right. If it's an outflow, it goes in brackets. If it's an inflow, there are no brackets. Okay, so numbers that will be getting transferred in will be for, say, interest paid. There'll be a working there. There'll be a working for your tax paid. There's likely to be as well, is it a working for the purchase of PPE? Again, there might be a working as well for the dividends paid using that retained earnings T account. So the more questions that you practice, the better you'll become. Okay, so that goes through there and just covers the approach to a long statement of cash flows question. So something that you're likely to see in section C. Okay, part of that 20-mark preparation of financial statements question. Just note, just be careful, as well as it appearing in section C, it could be some form of multiple choice question, couldn't it? It could go through there and say, calculate the figure for the purchase of PPE. Okay. It could say, what is the figure for the dividend paid? Other bits that we've seen is it's also asked you to analyze the statements of cash flows, but we'll touch upon that when we get to the analysis and interpretation section. But for now, what I would like you to go through and take on board is just to sit back, read through that approach, make sure you understand it, and then once you've understood it, it's up to you. Okay, I think again, good technique here would be to use that approach yourself. Don't do it under time conditions, no, but work the example over the page yourself. Okay, don't look at the answer, work it through, see how you get on, and then look at the next video when I will take you through step by step, following that approach that you see there to go through and solve the question. So good luck with the question. Hope all that financial accounting knowledge comes flooding back to you, and I'll see you all very shortly. Take care.